You're listening to Oilers Nation Radio, presented by the Nation Network. Subscribe for free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Oilers Nation Radio, episode 122. That means it is a Friday afternoon here in the capital city, and we got some Oilers business to discuss. And gentlemen, before we get into it, I just want to say I'm glad to talk to you guys today so that we can make sense of these worldly problems that we're facing with this hockey team. But first, we must start off by thanking our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant out in Sherwood Park, Alberta, for helping making this possible. Again, I don't care what color my Bronco is. I really don't. I don't care what the bikes look like. I don't care what the wheels look like. Just let me in there. 4 2021 Broncos for the boys. That's all we're saying.
Please.
You couldn't get us the escorts. 4 Broncos sounds reasonable by comparison. Go follow Sherwood Ford on Twitter at Sherwood Ford, on Instagram at Sherwood Ford_the Giant. It is winterize your vehicle time. If you need tires, Frank, get out of there.
Yeah, Frank also get out of there.
Frank needs tires. An oil change, maybe a new whip altogether. Go to Sherwood Ford the Giant in Sherwood Park, Alberta. As we do every week, Mr. Tyler Remchuk will start things off with the Giant question of the week.
The Sherwood Ford Giant question of the week. At the time of recording this, the Oilers have dropped back-to-back hockey games. So my question is, what is the most concerning sign with the Edmonton Oilers?
Who wants to start, boys?
I'll start.
Right. Go for it, Dan.
Okay. My most concerning thing has to be the lulls in mental fortitude that it seems like this team has. We played some really good hockey against some pretty good teams. Played really well against the Montreal Canadiens, didn't win. Played well against the Winnipeg Jets for 55 minutes, and 5 minutes into the third period, they were down in that game and out. It's just like, you just want to see them play that. I feel like we say this for what episode is this, Bag Milk? 122 episodes of us saying we need 60 minutes of effort. And here we are again. That's my biggest concern is just those little lapses where we just leave the goalie out to dry, and then we're like, well, why can't you make a save, Koskinen?
Rick, you're up.
Well, I got to agree with Dan there. Like, watching this team doesn't seem like they have like a 10 out of 10 energy level. Like, they don't seem to go out there and want, like, when the building's banging, they're out there, they're moving. You can almost see their heartbeat, right? You can just see what they're doing, and they just don't have that right now. So as much as that's the thing, the thing that scares me the most right now is our secondary scoring. I think last year we really took a step forward from the previous year because we started to get that secondary scoring, right? It wasn't just about Connor and Leon. It was other guys starting to step up. And if you look at anybody outside the big four, Connor, Leon, Nuge, and Yam, there aren't a whole lot of goals there right now. Pools, I need him to get to, 1 or 2. He's had some opportunities. Seeing Cassian get 2 now, that's better. And Turris is, I don't know if he's getting going, but he's got a couple. So maybe things are starting to work things out in the secondary scoring, but that's my biggest worry right now.
I agree with you entirely. I think secondary scoring is a big problem right now because when you have Adam Larson matching the pace of your bottom 6 in terms of goal scoring, you got a problem. You got a big problem. And it can't just be up to Connor and Leon and Nuge and Yamamoto to produce offense. There needs to be, like, I feel like Cahoon is so snake bitten right now that it's shocking. And that's a huge problem. It's not my biggest problem, but it is a massive one. Tyler, where are you at?
I think this team can win without good secondary scoring. They just need average secondary scoring, and I think we're getting to that point. I think that third line is starting to take some strides forward. I think Gaetan Haas is maybe going to be a bit of an offensive spark to that fourth line. I think that's going to take care of itself. The big concern for me is actually going to be the blue line. I think Tyson Barrie's struggling right now. He's not coming as advertised at 5-on-5. We thought he'd be a really good puck mover and be competent defensively and all that. Really hasn't been. Adam Larson, man, he's not playing good hockey right now either. On the left side, Chris Russell's struggling. Everyone said Caleb Jones is going to have to handle top 4 minutes, and throughout the offseason, myself included, we just kind of said, yeah, that's something that's got to happen. Well, it's not. And Slater Cuckoo's been a good surprise. I've liked what I've seen from Darnell Nurse. Ethan Bear hasn't been a problem, but I'm a little bit nervous that the bottom half of that blue line isn't going to get better this year. And if the bottom half of the blue line doesn't get better and they don't start cleaning things up in their own end, the goaltending might not get better either. So the big concern for me is just what we've seen on the blue line. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm concerned it's not going to get better. And yeah, that's got to be the biggest concern right now.
Tyler, you matched my biggest concern. My biggest concern is defensive awareness. I think that, as we saw last night in the third period, the boys can rally and score. I still think depth scoring is a problem, like Rick said, but I do believe that once the Cajuns start to get one, they'll start to get a little bit of confidence, and then maybe they'll start going in the net. But right now, the inability to lock things down in their own zone is troubling. And then when you combine that with the fact that Mikko has been ridden until the wheels are falling off right now, and he's allowing maybe one or two that he wants back on a nightly basis, that's a big problem. The combination of those two items is just, it's causing all kinds of losses. Like Dan said, the loss against Winnipeg, they were up in the third period. Those are points they left on the board. Last night, they tied it twice in the third period against the Leafs. Points on the board. They cannot lock things down. They cannot kill penalties right now either. They've got 4 straight games with allowing a power play goal. So they cannot lock things down, and they can't get the big save that they need. I mean, there's a product of the shoddy defense. There's a product of Koskinen being overplayed right now. There's a product of him just whiffing on one or two. I mean, like, that first goal last night against the Leafs was just like a comedy of errors, and it just kind of set the tone for what was an abysmal start to the game. The Oilers were playing really, really well from the opening puck drop last night. I thought they had jump. I thought they had energy. I thought they looked good. But then when that one goal goes in, kind of fucking deflates, it derails everything. It took the wind out of their sails, and all of a sudden you're down 2 goals to the Leafs, who are leading this division right now. Spotting a team 2 goals is a massive problem. And again, that goes to a product of not being able to close in on some of the chances, not being able to lock them out, and then you're not getting the save that you probably need on one at least of those. And then that second goal, Nylander, fuck me, he had enough time and space to make a sandwich beside the net. Like, the coverage in the defensive zone is shocking. Dan, sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's okay. No, I was just kind of building off of your point there. I think last year, one of the things that we just kind of rested on was the fact that as soon as we got a power play, you were getting a goal 25% of the time. Like, it just was locked in.
Automatic.
And so you were considering it, like, literally at the start of the season, I've been ready to post the La Bamba goal song every time we have a power play because I just expect it. But it hasn't been that way. I think it's coming. I mentioned that this morning in my tweet, 4 goals in the last 2 games, and the power play is at 20%. But, and then to Bagmilk's point again, penalty kill was the same thing. When we took penalties, it wasn't that big of a deal. But now it's like, yikes, we're not able to kill penalties. That play by Yamamoto, which, it's been hard to find anything wrong with his game, but unable to get the puck out of the zone at the half boards, and the goal goes in your net. So it's just, it's these little, the Bagmilk, you said it, comedy of errors that just combine, and then you look back and you're like, okay, that's why we lost that game. On to the next one.
They're just avoidable mistakes that the Oilers are getting caught with over and over and over again, and it's costing them points in the standings. And I gotta say, it's driving me fucking crazy.
It's death by a million cuts, though. That's what it is. It's like there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You can't really sit here and just put it on one, this, that, or the other thing. It's, we make a bad decision here and it spirals down, goes in the net. It's just silly little things that they really need to fucking clean up.
So let me float this to you then. You can go through every game, and really, aside from the blowout loss to Montreal, you could say they've had a chance to win every game. Mm-hmm. But then in every game, you're looking at 4 or 5 things that go wrong. Does that make you optimistic that, hey, as soon as they clean up 1 or 2 of those little things, the wins are coming? And holy hell, if they clean up 4 or 5 of those little things for a 10-game stretch, it's heater season.
100%. I came into this year expecting like 3 4-game win streaks or something like that. And we haven't hit one yet, right? So I'm not too worried about where we're sitting right now. It's not a great feeling inside about where we are, but I don't think we're out of it right now. If you can just clean up 2 or 3 of those little things, man, things are going to start to turn around. When you start to see these power plays working, that'll feed into the next shift and the next shift and the next shift. Whereas, 3 games ago, that wasn't working. Things weren't going. Now, the last 3 or 4 games, I think our offense started to look a little more fluid. It starts to skate with a little more they're kind of working together right now. Where at the beginning, they really didn't look like they were just trying to do it all themselves. So now it looks like it's starting to move, starting to snowball. They need to whatever the defensive zone there. You got to refocus in your defensive zone. Let the offense keep doing its thing, and we'll be okay in the long run.
Well, and like I've been trying to maintain some positivity, especially today. And I feel bad for a guy like Bag Milk who has to sit there and eat. What was it last night there? Spotted Dick.
It didn't look that bad for the record.
I got to tell you, Spotted Dick was
terrified coming in.
In terms of what it actually was, it was like a weird toffee pudding or something. It was like a mix between. It was like it had the consistency of an undercooked brownie, and I would say I gave it a 55 out of 93. I didn't think it was bad at all, to be honest. And I actually imagine a genuine Spotted Dick, like if you had grandma whip one up for you, it would probably be delicious. Anyway, go ahead.
So my thing is that you have to sit there and listen to a lot of the people that are just really frustrated with the game post game. When I go out and do my runs after losses, it's just Dan in my old head, and I'm thinking about all the little things, those little tweaks that that are coming, and we will see the positive sides of stuff. So I'm not so worried, and it's not like we have a stretch of games coming up against the Central Division next week where it's just 2-point games. Every single game is a 4-point game, which is a bad and a good thing.
There is never going to be a point in this season where they don't play a huge game. I was looking at their schedule, and let's look at the North right now. I think everyone can agree Montreal and Toronto are probably establishing themselves as that top tier, and Ottawa's clearly in the shits. So that middle group, it's Winnipeg, it's Edmonton, it's Vancouver, and it's Calgary. 2 of those teams are making it, 2 of them aren't. The Oilers' last 7 games of the year are all against Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver. 10 of their last 12 games of the year, Winnipeg, Vancouver, Calgary. Like, you can make up points in the snap of a finger. Like, a 5-game heater in this division in a 56-game season with only 4-point swings is worth twice as much as a 5-game heater in a normal year, because you're directly gaining ground on everyone you're competing with.
Well, and
that
the
a
other
5-game losing streak is also shitty.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, it's the give and the take there. But the Vancouvers of the world look like, I think we've all kind of thought that they were. They took a step back from what they were last year, and that's a good thing. The Flames got exposed by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know that the scores looked closer than I think that the games were from what I saw and what I watched. But I think that we have to keep sight of the fact, like you said, Tyler, that the North Division, I don't even think Montreal is necessarily going to maintain this. They've never shown me in their past. I know I'm just a Habs hater on this podcast, but
and all their fans are dying.
It's amazing that they are able to exist with all the fans dead.
Although I keep getting a random Habs fan, and it's not the same Habs fan every time, but a random Habs fan will show up mid Oilers game and just tell me how good the Habs are. So it's resonating somewhere, but I just don't think that we're that far out of it, and it's that doom and gloomy. It's starting to feel like, to me, like December did last year, where we were just kind of like, holy shit, the wheels are off of this and we got to figure it out. And they did. And I think that the return, or the actual acquisition of Grosnick, as we saw him on the ice this morning, is going to change some of those things. And then when Mike Smith comes back, that's going to change some things. And then, like you said, Tyler, Gaetan Haas comes back, Evan Bouchard's not hurt anymore, and you're able to kind of slot in and out more D as you go. There's all kinds of little tweaks that'll happen here as the season goes on.
I'm not worried.
I don't think we're just not firing on all cylinders right now. You know?
Yes.
Like, the wheels are kind of just spinning in the mud right now. It's not like they've fallen off. We're still there. We're still ready. They just need to get a little bit of traction, get a little bit of momentum, and we'll be just fine.
The problem I have is that they're looking still like a preseason team, which is, I get it. They've only played, 9 games, 5 of which against the top 2 teams in the division, by the way. Mm-hmm. But they're digging a hole for themselves that is unnecessary because of mistakes. Everybody's in the same spot. So I think, rather than being anywhere close to pushing the panic button, which is on my next topic, I think that I'm more in a position of just being annoyed and frustrated by how they're giving up points early in the season that they need banked for the end of the year.
They seem like mistakes we should have figured out last year, and they should not be happening this year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I thought we took care of a lot of this stuff last year, brought in some fresh bodies, some real NHLers that were going to, hit the ground running and help bring up the back end of our team, which isn't happening right now. But that doesn't mean that it's not there. This isn't 4 years ago when we were hoping that the fourth line players were good enough to be in the NHL, and hoping that all these guys out there have done it already, right? So we just need them to find their game, find their mojo, and get going here.
If you want to find your mojo, I recommend heading over to skipthedishes.ca and getting yourself something to eat. You can't feel your mojo unless you feed the temple, Tyler. I need to make sure that you're getting all the vitamins that you need. Skip the Dishes has the restaurants that offer you a choice to grab whatever flavor or cuisine you want. Maybe you go for a tour around the city. Support a few different restaurants this weekend. Skipthedishes.ca, pick something up to eat, get yourself fed. Cooking for yourself is overrated. All of that good stuff. I want to go back to something that I mentioned a little bit earlier. Dan mentioned it because I know I saw Dan last night in the B-cast. The panic button is being hammered on right now. And I want to know how close everyone here is. I just said I'm not anywhere close to the panic button. My frustration is insanely high though, which is a very, very different thing. Tyler, where are you at in terms of the panic button?
Like I said, there's going to be plenty of chances throughout the year to make up ground. And until the Oilers are like 8 points out of a playoff. Okay, I shouldn't say that. Until the Oilers are like 4 to 6 points out of a playoff spot and maybe don't have any games in hand and all that, that's when the panic button starts to set in. When all of a sudden you're looking and going, if they don't win 10 in a row, they're done. Like, that's kind of when you panic, because in my opinion, panicking does no good. But that doesn't mean you can't be frustrated, like you said, Bag Milk, with what we're getting here, because there are plenty of reasons to be frustrated. You look at that Jets game blowing a lead in the third period, that should piss you off as a fan of the Edmonton Oilers. You look at last night not being able to get a big kill, not Draisaitl hitting the post with a minute left, that should piss you off. That should frustrate you. And I think it's fine to be frustrated, but it's also fine to wake up the next morning and kind of have a level-headed approach of, things might get better. And like we said, it's death by 1,000 cuts right now. But if they can clean up some of the defensive zone stuff, which competent NHLers should be able to clean up, and I think they are competent NHLers on that roster, like, things will get better at some point here.
Just for the record, though, Tyler, the Oilers are 4 points out of a playoff spot.
Well, they still got lots of games, is my point.
It's one game.
Do you think, Dan, before I get your answer on the panic question, do you think that there's a part of it where I questioned today on Twitter, I wondered maybe just there's parts of this roster that's just not good enough? Is there anything to that, or am I overdoing it?
I don't think you can say that yet. I could understand the feeling of that, but I still think that 9 games is just 9 games. And I think that what's kind of playing into the panic button being pounded by some fans right now is the fact that the concept of 56 games versus 82 games, I think is making people just feel claustrophobic. And the 10-game stretch must mean that we're out of the playoffs and we're not going to make it, when that's just not really the case, especially because we're playing the same teams over and over again. But to your question, Bag Milk, I'm just not ready to say that Turris is having a problem. I was reminded of the 2006 team where, we made all those transactions and all those moves, and the team was looking like we weren't even going to make the playoffs that year. And then they came together and worked it. So I just think that, like, when you bring in a Tyson Barrie who has to, assume the offensive, or you hope that he assumes the offensive role that Klefbom played for this team, moving the puck up. You have Kyle Turris coming in and playing in a position where Riley Sheahan played really well, given what he was asked to do on the PK, and Turris isn't that player. It's too early to tell what we have with all these guys in their new roles and in their new positions. So that's just my feeling.
I don't disagree with you, but where I do have concern, though, is tomorrow we're at 20% of the season is gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're getting to a point now where, there's still 80%. That's still lots of runway left, but it's going to disappear pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So if they can't get away from this 1 game win, 1 game loss kind of hole they're in, that runway that we have available is going to run out quickly. And that's my concern. So to Rick's point about dialing things in and tightening our shit up, that has to happen like yesterday. There's not time to sit here and fuck around on it. Tyler, what do you think?
Again, like, even at the 14 games will be 25%. And maybe I'll start to get a little bit harder and start to worry a little bit more at the quarter mark, but 25% is still only 25%. And again, maybe I'm being too optimistic. I just keep going back to the fact that there's plenty of time to make up ground in this division, and the teams they need to compete against, like I said, I rattled them off: Vancouver, Calgary, Winnipeg. They need to finish better than two of those teams. They haven't played Calgary yet. They split the set with Vancouver. They split the set with Winnipeg, right? Like, they've proven they can beat those teams. And with Calgary, we know they can beat Calgary, and it's fucking Calgary. So until, they're losing 2 in a row to the Jets and losing 2 in a row to the Canucks and getting swept on a weekend set to the Flames, like, I'm just not pulling the alarm bell yet.
I want to change gears for a second, then. Nobody's pushing the panic button. That's boring. I was hoping somebody would. I want to talk about the special teams. Dan tweeted about it. The Oilers' power play is now back at 20% on the season, starting to look better. I wish, like, last night it was sweet. They got 2 goals, and normally you'd be like, 2 goals from your power play is great. They did have 7 chances, although 1 or 2 of those were abbreviated. It would have been nice to get more than that, but it's starting to get there. Great. I want to start off with the penalty kill, however, which is trending the other direction. 4 straight games with a PK power play goal against. Rick, what are you seeing from the penalty kill that needs a correction?
You know what? It's just got to be some sort of system in our own zone there. There's too many shots getting through. That shot from Matthews yesterday that went in should not have got to the net. We don't get those shots through. Toronto, someone goes down and blocks it. We don't get those shots through. Somehow we need to prevent pucks getting to the net. I don't think we've seen too many goals where, Koskinen's kicking himself over, but there's just too many goals at the end of the game. And the power play will get itself fixed. That's never my worry. And I do believe that the PK, just like the power play will get better too. It's the 5-on-5 that really still scares me right now, though. And I think really we just need some consistency. We get some consistency, the same lines, the same players on the same lines playing, those bottom 6 minutes, and that's going to turn around and help your penalty kill too, because those are the same guys that are going to be killing penalties. But look how many times these guys are going out there with a new partner. That doesn't work very well. You need to be able to read off your guys. And we're swapping guys in. Jujar was in for 1 game and then out for 2. And then, we lose a game and it's like this guy comes out and that guy comes out and this guy goes in and this guy goes in. And they're getting on different lines. Like, we need to keep the same 12 or the same 18 on the ice for 4 or 5 games in a row. And that's what's going to start to help your special teams. They need to be able to read off each other and know where each other are. And right now, you just keep putting guys out there who just don't know where each other are very well, as much as they did last year. So we need to get some consistency in the lineup, and then that will help take care of things on the special teams.
We're going to bring in Brody Schnarr from OwnersBox here to talk a little bit of fantasy hockey here in a second. Tyler, before we bring Brody in, as he's coming in, what do you see from the PK right now?
Again, just some sloppy sort of mistakes, whether it's a coverage mistake, whether we talked about, not getting a puck out when you have a clear lane, like just little brain cramps are really, really costing them. And I think that's just the biggest issue. And again, I'm going to be Mr. Optimistic here, even though I'm usually not, but those little brain cramps should sort themselves out at some point. Like, eventually when you get to the middle of the season, you should be able to not do stuff like that. Like Kyler Yamamoto, hopefully by game 15 knows, don't send a slap shot on the ice up the boards, send it hip high up the middle of the ice when you're at the top of the circle and it's going to get to the other end. So again, like, the penalty kill was so good last year. I know they lost Riley Shahan. Kara's not in the lineup all the time, but the system there should still be able to be intact. Like, right now they're playing a weird, like, diamond with the guy, like a cross almost. It's just, it doesn't make sense. Like, the system should be in these players' minds in the next 5 games and things should start to get better.
Dan, last word on the PK before Brody comes in.
Well, for me, there's 3 parts of a PK that make it successful. It's attacking them in the neutral zone, so like a forecheck. It's the access to the zone, which I think we were really freaking good at last year. We broke up a lot of play at the blue line, and teams couldn't even get their penalty power play started. And then the third thing, again, like you guys touched on, is that diamond versus we were very aggressive in a box last year. And I think that they've changed the diamond because I think that teams are shifting the way that they play the power play, but the aggression just isn't there. We're very stagnant. And unlike other teams, when they're stagnant, they're in the lanes. We haven't been in the lanes because you're in that diamond position. So yeah, it's threefold for me, and I hopefully they can tweak it and change it.
All right, time to let's get I'll bring in Brody here since I'm the one controlling the call here. Brody Schnarr from OwnersBox joining us on Oilers Nation Radio. If you remember, a couple weeks ago we chatted with Brody and we introduced you to OwnersBox. It's basically a hybrid between fantasy hockey and daily fantasy hockey. It's weekly fantasy sports. Check them out, ownersbox.com. The only contest I've lost, if I'm being honest, is the one we did here on this podcast too. I believe you won, right, Dan?
No, I didn't. Josh pulled it out.
Oh, Josh won. Ah, damn it, Josh.
I lost like 3 players on Carolina.
Oh, that's a big sting. Brody, hopping on the pod now. How big of an impact has kind of those COVID delays and all that had on some of these contests?
Hey, Tyler, thanks for having me on. Yeah, COVID's definitely made it a little more complicated, I think, for everyone. And I think for everyone watching at home. But I mean, we knew that in mind when we were designing what we have out right now. We've kind of thought into that where, you know, we do give you, if someone's out for injuries, a free swap. So it sucks you took everyone from Carolina. It sucks that they all didn't play. There's not much we can do, unfortunately, about that. But we wanted to make it as simple as possible to still get some new players in your lineup.
But that's the thing right there, Brody. That's a big plus, is that, you know, Rick was unable to benefit from his Carolina players, but the next time he goes to play a draft, instead of, you know, where you're stuck for a season having lost a matchup 16-0, you can now go into another draft and draft those players knowing that they got a few more games under their belt. So
yeah, and to your point, Dan, you picked all the Canadians who, you know, there's maybe less COVID worry there, so you got to give props to you. I saw you got a lot of my Leafs there, so
I did. Yeah,
I think you took the whole damn team.
I did. I really did.
Brody, looking at the season so far, let's stay in the All-Canadian division. It's something we've talked about so far on the podcast. When you look at the 7 teams, who's been the biggest surprise for you, whether it's positive or negative? Like, did you think Ottawa would be this bad? Did you think the Habs would be this good? What's been your big takeaway so far?
I think so. The Habs weren't. It's surprising to me they're doing this well, and I think everyone to see them come out the gate this hot. But I mean, their underlying numbers last year were good. I guess to see them kind of dominating the division the way they are is a little surprising. So I'd go with them. But yeah, other than that, it's early on. I know it's a shortened season, so you got to start getting points going. But it's still very early, and it's tough to see how it all ends up playing out. So I don't want to give you a team and then that switch over the next week and then I look bad here. But I'd say Canadians from what I've seen so far.
Looking around the league in terms of individual players and maybe, you know, someone who's been dominating an OwnersBox league that you wouldn't have thought. Has there been an individual player who's gone off to a hot start that's really surprised you?
From a surprising standpoint, I mean, you can point to Dallas off their start, but I'll stick with the Leafs. I mean, it's not as much of a surprise that Marner is right up there, but the fact that he's night in and night out, we heard before the season as Leaf fans, he's going to be shooting the puck more. And it was kind of hard to see how that was going to mesh with Matthews, who is obviously shoot first, but they seem to be playing great together. So, I mean, you expected some points out of Mitch, but I don't think we expected this much out of him as a Leaf fan.
And I'm going to ask you the flip side of that question now. Is there someone who, when you're looking at what they maybe haven't been able to do through the first few weeks of the season, is there someone who you think might be in a good bounce back spot for the next couple weeks here that you're maybe targeting and highlighting in some drafts?
Yeah, so I would think some of those on our platform specifically, some of those not depth Oilers, but maybe that second tier. Everyone knows about McDavid. Everyone knows about Draisaitl. I think Oilers are off to kind of a tough start. There's goalie concerns, but also just the schedule and the hand you've been dealt. You're playing the wrong teams at the wrong time. You go up against the Canadians and the Leafs to start, and it looks like coming up, you've got some games against the Senators and the Flames that, you know, maybe haven't been playing as good. So I would think a guy like Nugent Hopkins, he's been doing all right, but I could see kind of that next level go above point per game for the next week or so with those kind of so far what looks like to be easier matchups.
Brody, my question for you is, once you're getting later into a draft, what kind of players are you kind of looking at that are providing some good value that you maybe wouldn't pick up high, but maybe into some of your lower picks? Is there anybody that comes to mind?
Yeah, there's quite a few. For me, it's always been, it's looking at those defensemen. there's so many good forwards this year, and depending on the style you do, if you do a 2-man draft, you're only going 10 forwards deep, right? Where you can make a case for each player. But if you go into one of our 8-man or 16-man contests, you start getting a little deeper. And I'm looking for those defensemen that still have that first power play time. Teams are still kind of settling in. You see the hot starts for power plays constantly. You're definitely seeing it if you're watching the North Division. And I think getting that power play quarterback from, just about any team right now, while power plays are still striking around the league, it's a good time to kind of keep that in mind and keep that designation in mind when you're drafting your team.
I just finished. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know you guys are partnered with the Nation Network, and so it sounds a little patronizing, but you guys changed the game for me when it comes to that live draft interface. Yeah. Like you mentioned there with the first power play lines. I know that you work with Daily Faceoff to come up with that stuff, I think. And I just, as a fantasy guy, I really appreciate that level of detail that you guys put into it and the effort that you put there to be able to come up with the, the casual fan now can feel like a real smart fantasy player and not have to do all the digging and work that other fantasy sport leagues make you do.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We appreciate that. I know we're fantasy sports players ourselves, and I think what gets lost sometimes is if you're a fantasy player, maybe you try and complicate the system, but we know there's lots out there that are just getting into it, and we wanted to make that interface work for that casual guy and the guy that's been playing every other type every single day throughout the year.
If anyone wants to hop in on a contest with me, I am in a 16-man draft right now, but there's only 4 people in it. So we're waiting for it to fill out a little bit right now. But the cost to enter is 25 OwnersBox, which is a part of the sort of the bonus you get when you sign up, right, Brody?
Yeah, exactly. So you come over to our platform, you verify, you're going to get $5 real to play with, and you also get a handful of OwnersBox to play with as well. So you can try risk-free. You can see if you like it before you really dive deep. We think you will, and we wanted to kind of give everyone that chance to play before making their own investment in it.
Perfect, Brody. We'll have to have a few more of these check-ins throughout the year here, but appreciate your time today, man. Oh, actually, before I let you go, any new promos that you guys are running over at OwnersBox?
So same as before, the verify, bring your friends in, and we have a whole structure there on how you kind of get paid out if you're inviting your friends and bringing them. The one thing we want to bring up in the upcoming weeks, we have a new game mode coming out that we're really excited. We're fine tuning, we're finalizing at this point. So we'll have more in the upcoming weeks for you guys there.
Oh, that's boy. A good tease. That's a good tease. That's how you do it in the media
industry.
Leave
it on that note. Exactly. We'll leave it on that note.
All right. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the weekend, Brody.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Have a good one, buddy.
There you go.
Let's go.
Yeah. There's Brody Schnarr from OwnersBox. Riling up Oilers fans with the Go Leafs Go at the end there. Someone tweeted me yesterday. It was actually our good friend Nicholas Good. He sent out a tweet saying, the fake crowd noise is into it. And I said, if the fake crowd noise was any more realistic yesterday, we would have had a few Go Leafs Go chants at Rogers Place.
It's funny. It was so off yesterday. It was so off. Like there's a shot, really save, and a kick out, and then it's the it's the goal is the goal, right? It's fine. That's easy to time in there, and even if you miss it, it's fine. But there's like the oohs and the ahs where it was like when you watch your TV and the video isn't lined up with the audio, and the news person and now all you can see is their mouth move, and there's not lined up with the words. And you're like, this is all I can watch.
There was one play in the second period where you couldn't hear Jack over the fake crowd. I was just like, I was so confused.
Was it?
We had a close chance. And the crowd was just going nuts, and Jack is speaking, and I'm just like, can somebody turn the crowd down? I don't know.
They thought it went in the net.
And then I think the Jets, in the Jets game too, I was laughing because it seems like sometimes in these games, the person that's running that computer doesn't really have their finger on the pulse. I'm not I know it's not an easy job.
It's Tyler with hot and cold performers.
Someone with buttons, yeah.
It's Tyler that aren't his. Oh shit, so button.
It feels like maybe it's a tech person that doesn't necessarily know what's going on in the game, and they just see, it's like go. I don't know, whatever. It's a hard job. It can't be easy, but it's weird.
And let's be honest, if there was real crowd noise in there would have been a few boo birds over the last couple of nights.
Shoot.
Well, one thing that Brody brought up, and I want to bring this back to the Oilers here. Brody brought up a power play quarterback, and when he said that, it made me think of Dave Tippett pulling Tyson Barrie off the power play already. I just want to go around the horn really quickly and get everybody's take on Barrie coming off. Personally, I thought he was getting a little bit of the yips almost. It seemed like he
Trying too hard.
He would fake shoot, and then he would try to shoot, and then he was just trying to do too much. And it almost seemed like he was like a puppy with too much energy and didn't exactly know what to do with it. Tyler?
I wonder if, and I'm going to go off for a second here, but I wonder if part of it is, does he maybe feel like, would it be intimidating going out on that power play is what I'm trying to say? Like in your mind, are you like, holy shit, do I pass to Nuge? I got to get the puck to Connor. I haven't passed to Leon in a few times. Do they want me shooting the puck or should I be waiting for them to shoot the puck? Like it's almost like an awkward dance, like a high school dance. You're kind of like, oh, who's making the first move? Who's going first here? And I want Dave Tippett to give him more time. With that being said, like I was okay that they pulled him off for a little bit because I'm like, no, you still need to send the message that accountability, results matter and all that. But they started putting him back out there in that game against Toronto last night. And I like that. Like, I don't know. I give him more time to grow with this group. The natural talent is there for Tyson Barrie. He's a right shot. I think that will work really, really well with this top power play unit. Give him more time. And that power play is at its best when they aren't even thinking. And when they're all on the same page, it's just firing the puck around, bang, scoring chance. Fire it around, bang, scoring chance. And give Barrie a little bit more time to get that, to understand the flow of how that power play is going to work.
To your point, it's like last night, Bob Stauffer in the intermission said, well, maybe we miss Oscar Klefbom more than we thought. When I think about the power play, I think about a guy like Klefbom who's had now 5 years worth of reps with those same guys. He knows what Connor's going to do. He knows what Leon's going to do and where he needs to put it so that they are happy. Tyson Barrie still doesn't know how to do that yet. And I don't think that Darnell Nurse is going to be the permanent option on the back end there. I actually think it's going to be Bouchard, but I think that Tyson Barrie needs more time to work out those yips because he's still not comfortable in that spot with his power play. Whereas everybody else on there, the other 4 guys have all worked together for years now, more or less.
Well, and we see it every time that a new person goes up with McDavid or Draisaitl. They're hesitant. Jesse even, to his credit, he's gotten through it in like 2 or 3 games. But when he first was up there with them, it's that like, do I shoot it here or do I give it right back to you kind of thing? Because hell be, your wrath if you're the guy that screws up and takes away a goal from the best player in the world. So yeah, I think that even just when it comes to his regular 5-on-5 play, there's just that there's that comfort level that new guys need when it comes to playing with the best players in the world, and you can't force that. So yeah, 100%. I think that Darnell Nurse is a good placeholder while Barrie figures it out, and then Klefbom comes back, and hopefully Bouchard's here in a couple of years full time, or
a couple games,
games. Who knows?
A few years. That's not good.
Well, I don't want to put too many expectations on the kid, or the old man, however you look at it.
You got to start playing sooner or later.
But yeah, I think you guys hit it on the head when you say that it's just that level of comfort and that level of not being the bad guy, taking away the looks from McDavid and Draisaitl.
But again, the quarterback's Connor. You needed some guy in there just to move the puck from the left to the right? You've got 2 of the best passers in the world on both your sides, and your main job is to get the puck to one of them and let them work everything, right? So you're right. When Barrie, I do think there's probably too much going on in his head, trying to figure out exactly what he's trying to do, make this guy happy, make that guy happy, do the right thing, because there is just so much overthinking. But here's a question. The fact that they can't really hang out, right? There's no
has to affect it. Like I refuse.
Yeah, because that's gonna scare you. That's gonna scare you more, right? Because Connor's not a very outgoing type of person, right? So if he's sitting there and he's just quiet in the dressing room, are you looking at him going, "Oh, I think he's pissed off at me because I didn't pass the puck here. I screwed this up." I don't think he's just not confident there. Not Nurse, you can put in there because Nurse, he's part of the shadow. He's part of them. He is, this is like the boys on the bus. Nurse is a part of the boys on the bus. The position you need filled right now on the power play spot is more of just like a pivot role who can move the puck here, there. He knows where everyone's going to be. They're comfortable with him on that side. And he's actually better offensively than everyone's ever given him credit for.
It would be interesting.
So I'm okay with him there.
It would be interesting actually to look around the league and see how all new guys are doing on their new teams, because Rick just brought up an interesting point that team bonding in hockey is a massive thing, and they don't get to really do it. They're not allowed to hit up the pint after a game right now.
But some guys, even in the dressing room, are going to be more outgoing, right? Like that's just their thing. That's, that's who they are. But there's some guys who are more quiet, and I guarantee you, there's days where Connor's just, walking around the hallways doing whatever, and people are going, "Oh, he's pissed off. I can tell he's angry," and he's not angry. He's just, that's who he is. He's a bit of a quiet guy.
Well, and that's too, like when you're on the road, Washington Capitals got fined for it. You can't even spend time with your teammates in a
so you're not getting comfortable with their personalities. You're not, you don't know how to talk to them. You don't know how to that's, they became such a unit, a gelled unit. They knew exactly where everyone was going to be. Now you're the new guy coming in, and you're in a pretty pivotal role as that pivot spot. That puck's coming through you a lot. So there's a lot on your stick there. And yeah, I bet you, and he came in here and everybody said, "Oh, this kid's going to put up all sorts of crazy power play points." That's not working. You can't tell me the next 5-on-5 shift he's not thinking about that, or that's not sitting there. That's just weighing on him. This has been weighing on them. So in the first games, nothing was going. That weighs on them. Then they started getting the offense going, and the defense slips again. That's weighing on them. Once they get all these things going together, and they can get kind of like those skeletons out of their head, that's when the whole team can start moving forward, and that's when they'll start getting better.
To Dan's point, I also think that there's something to Dan's point where a new guy like Tyson Barrie, you're right, Rick, Connor is the quarterback on the power play. He is. But I also think that for a new guy, and I even saw it with Nugent Hopkins in the first couple of games, there's a tendency to default to Connor too much. Mm-hmm. And then you can just overload his side because, people are going to try to force things through to him anyway. I think that once Barrie settles down a little bit, he'll be able to pick and choose the spots where, okay, I'm going to get the primary goal. Primary goal is to get the puck to Connor. But he's got to look at his other receivers too to see who's open and available and make sure that it goes that way instead of just trying to force it through.
So it is getting more fluid right now. They are starting to move the puck better. They're starting to look a little bit more comfortable out there. But I do think part of that is just knowing that they exactly who's on the blue line. And, there's those times where you have three guys in the corner in a battle and you can just chip the puck behind you, blindly because, Clefbaum or Nurse in this matter are going to be there. Whereas sometimes Barry's not there. He's, thinking something else, maybe coming up the middle or something where he's just not quite covering those spots. Once you get there, then it'll get better.
Once, as we wind up January, our friends at Tourism Jasper want you to consider Jasper to celebrate winter safely in a pristine mountain wonderland. Ending this weekend, that's the 31st of January. We'll have some new deals for February. Get incredible deals on COVID-friendly versions of all your favorite winter activities. Celebrate the spirit of winter with glowing light installations throughout town, more intimate adventure options, unforgettable skiing, and multi-day stays in a cabin of your very own. Get outdoors and make some new memories with members of your household. Learn more at jasper.travel/January. Again, time's running out. jasper.travel/January. Get yourself to the mountains. Get a nice little, maybe you can take a nice little selfie in front of a frozen lake, Tyler. That'd look nice. That'd look real nice. And you'd enjoy yourself. You really would.
My pale skin looks good in the winter light.
Next topic I want to go to. That wasn't Frank. I think that was
really?
Chance.
Chance is next. I think the next topic I want to cover is I want to look at the bottom six a little bit. I'm thinking of a guy like Cahoon.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got plenty of skill. No, he's not bottom six yet.
You're talking support players, really.
Support players. Cahoon, I think, has got skill. He's just snake bitten right now. And I bet once he scores, he's going to relax a little bit and they'll come easier. Do you think with so many guys in the bottom six kind of in that same spot right now that there's a shuffle in those lines that makes sense? Maybe it's a Tyler Ennis moves up with Leon and Yam for a game or two to try and give easier matchups to Cahoon with Torres or something like that. Is there a shuffle that makes sense to you to try and get more juice out of your bottom six guys, Rick?
There definitely is, but the thing is, we need consistency. Nobody gets a couple of games. Those two lines haven't been together in how long, they don't get any consistent games together. They need to get some minutes together. We need to stop shuffling people in and out of the lineup. So choose six and put them in for, 4 or 5 games and kind of get away from it. Don't touch it after that. Maybe do some in-game tweaks here and there. But for the most part, we need to get some consistency. Get, Turris, Cassian. You guys are now a duo. What do you guys want on your left wing there? Do you need speed? Do you need size? You know, is it Neil? Is it Nygaard? Is it Ennis? Let's try and figure these things out, but we got to get them all playing together. Flipping guys in and out all the time can't be helping them, especially when you're gripping the stick too tight.
If we're talking Cahoon specifically, I want to leave him there. I think he's just snake bit right now. I think eventually the offense is going to come, and he's a guy who's had success in the past with skilled players. Like, just give him some time to get used to things there. That third line, I agree with Rick. I think the duo of Cassian and Turris has looked good, and I think there's some potential there. But I would maybe look at mixing up who's on that left side. Maybe Nygaard gives him more speed. Like, maybe there is a better combination there. And I mentioned it off the top, but I'm excited for Gaetan Haas to be healthy. I think he brings speed.
Haas guy.
I'm a huge Gaetan Haas guy.
Is there any way you put Gaetan Haas at the third center to go with Cassian and maybe some speed, move Turris down just to get that speed going? I think if you get the speed in the line, that's going to force Cassian to get going. If you play it slow, then he gets to play slow, no real strides. He can get lost in the shuffle. But if you get out there going north and south, get some speed going out there, I think that may force Cassian to get into the game. He can skate with anybody out there, you know, and he can chip those pucks in. You saw what he did yesterday. I think the coach needs to somehow get some life into that line. And with him, I think you need to get some horses on that line. And it can't be the first line. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if I break up Turris and Cassian yet, but I don't hate the idea of putting Cassian on a line with, Haas and Nygaard and letting the three of them just skate their brains out, man. Just go out there, skate hard for 30 seconds and get to the bench and see what you can do. So
we need those short, hard shifts to get the hearts going on these guys.
But I think Turris and Cassian have been fine together, and maybe Nygaard on that left side does the same thing, where if Turris can kind of just be the high guy off the rush and Nygaard and Cassian are just ripping up the wings and forechecking like demons, then maybe that's something that could work as well. But like James Neal hasn't been very good. Like, he's slow and he's not getting in on the rush. Last year, remember, he'd go bang around a little bit. He'd hit some guys in the corners. Like, he's barely even doing that this year. So I think there is a different mix to try there. And again, maybe I'm overvaluing Gaetan Haas. I probably am, but I think he could give them something down the middle, some more speed.
Dan, what do you think? You think the line combos need some more time, or is it time to pull out Mac T's blender?
I have a radical suggestion. Why don't you try
Koskinen plays center in the NBA?
Yeah.
Trade them all.
You try moving Cassian over to the left-hand side, and it's Cassian, Turris, and Yamamoto. Yamamoto has been an absolute firecracker for this team. And I think that whatever line you put him on, he's going to spark something with that line. You move James Neal up. I don't agree with you, Tyler. I think James Neal coming back to this team has ignited the reality that you have to shoot the puck again, because this team didn't seem to remember that for the first five or six
shots
games.
Yesterday.
So he shoots the puck a lot. He goes up there with Cahoon and Draisaitl. You keep Cahoon and Draisaitl together. I'm getting really excited about this idea. And or you can even slide Archibald up there as well, because I think Archibald does play well in spot duty. But I just think that Yamamoto is a guy that then you take him and you put him on that power play, and the number one power play, and it's fire wagon hockey again. I don't know. I think that Yamamoto is, I don't want to say underutilized right now, but I feel like he's a guy that wherever you put him, he is going to be excited to be there, and he's going to bring that skill and that talent that is kind of getting wasted by the fact that, you know, Draisaitl and Cahoon are going to be fine whoever's on their wing.
I see Rick having smoke coming out of his ears on this one. Rick, go ahead, buddy.
I don't know how you take Yamamoto and drop him down to the third.
It's not
line.
a drop necessarily.
Everybody said, like, as soon as Cassian, they went from, you know, as soon as Pugliarvi got put on the first line, instead of saying Pugliarvi got put on the first line, they're saying Cassian got demoted. Right? Yeah. Everyone's saying Cassian got demoted. So this is exactly what you're doing then. You're putting whoever you're going to have in Yamamoto's spot. Who's playing with?
I said Neal or Archibald.
Good heavens. Neal's got to be your fourth line dude, man.
No, I think that Neal is a spark for this team that they haven't had this season, where, again, like I said, the team wasn't shooting. We were screaming for him to shoot. He doesn't need to keep up. He just needs to stand at the blue line and wait.
He doesn't.
5 shots last night, Rick. Tyler bailed me out with that stat.
Neal got
5 shots last night. Yeah.
Okay,
He
at
shoots
least
the puck.
one. One was a tip, so I'll give you that one. I know that.
Nah, still counts. You're going hard to the net.
No,
you get credit for tips.
100%. I'm just saying that's not shooting the puck. That's going to the net. Yes, we could use some players going to the net. 100%. I agree.
He ended up having 6 shots last night.
That's okay.
Even better.
Hey,
I'm even more right.
Put those notes in your gambling pockets there, boys. That could be some big money there. Not very.
Thank you to
often
Austin Matthews last night for hitting the shot prop for me.
But dude, you got to take care of the bottom 6. Those 2 lines need to be fixed. Those top guys, you just got to let them go. Putting Yamamoto out there.
I don't touch the top 6.
I believe in keeping them together, but I think that you need to keep them together in pairs. That's the NHL.
Then the pair is Draisaitl and Yamamoto.
Tyler, you don't touch top 6 whatsoever. What if you flipped Cahoon and Nuge?
No, I'm not doing it. Not that I'm not doing it. I think there is a reason why Connor McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins haven't been broken up since the bubble.
Yeah, I can tell. Connor wants to play with Nugent-Hopkins.
And I think I'm
guessing that you heard the same shit that I heard as well. And Connor wants to play with either Draisaitl or Nuge.
And Connor McDavid, I think, is not going to be happy not playing with a skilled winger. I think he may have made that known. Like, I think that might be something that's going on here, because that would explain why Tippett hasn't put that trio back together, man. And Bagmill, you just said it. You might be hearing the same things I'm hearing. I think there's a chance he's kind of said,
"Oh, you guys, is there a fucking fire? Is there a fire?"
No, there's not a fire. It's just what I heard basically was Connor said, "Look, I don't want to be playing." Well, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know that he said this, but
yeah.
He doesn't want to be playing with fucking Ty Ratty and whoever else on
Patrick
the left
Maroon.
side.
Yes,
like that duo.
He should not be.
He doesn't want it. So I think that what I heard is that Connor said or suggested, "Listen, I want to play with one of those guys, Connor or Nuge or Leon. Take your pick." And for the best of the team, it is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, without a doubt.
I agree.
But I wonder if it's going to get to a point where Tip's just like, "Connor, I got to try something."
And I think what it might need to come to is you might need to just say, "Listen, I know you want to play with a skilled winger, but the bottom line is we win when it's new Giamo Draisaitl. So do you want to have fun or do you want to win?" And again, like, not that, Connor McDavid doesn't want to win, but I'm just saying, like, you might need to, and maybe you just got to say, "Hey, give him a chance. Give me 2 games, Connor. Play with Cahoon and Puljujarvi for 2 games. And if it doesn't work, we'll go right back to Nuge." But I think Connor just really, really wants a skilled winger. And I think Dave Tippett recognizes the value in giving Connor a really good skilled winger with a defensive conscience like Nuge. So,
but listen, as we're talking about this,
he deserves to have the greatest line mates he can.
As we're talking about this, I also want to make it abundantly clear that this doesn't mean that there's a fucking problem. It just means that Connor McDavid wants to play with a skilled winger as opposed to having 2 dragging testicles falling behind him on the ice because he's a big throbbing dick out there. So
Connor McDavid didn't call Daryl Cates and say, "I want to trade if you don't play me with Nuge." Like, I think he just kind of said, like, "Hey, I want skill. Like, I want to play with a skilled winger."
It's like, listen, I can't carry lines on my back. I need help. And I think that's what this is. And I wonder how far away it'll be. So I wonder where it is then on Ken Holland's to-do list, be it maybe next year or beyond, where it's like, all right, I need to find another fucking skilled winger. Christ almighty, we need to get another skilled winger.
Taylor,
there is more.
You can't do anything. You can't do anything till the salary cap goes up a bit, right?
But next year, a sizable chunk of money comes off. This
is our issues have been not strictly, but for the most part, bottom 6 issues. We get the bottom 6 dealt with. You get some scoring out of those and some consistency out of those lines. Then all of a sudden we're not sitting here worried about this. We're not sitting here going, Cahoon has, whatever, no goals or 1 goal or whatever the hell he has right now. We're not getting as worried.
As we're talking about this, I'm like getting like these weird flashback feelings. Were we having this exact same conversation last year about depth scoring not coming?
Yes. Yeah. And then like December-ish is when it started to turn around. Dude, there were people just screaming, "We're not making the playoffs again." Like it was everything you're reading last night, everything you heard last night was all being said last November into the early December. If you remember, like, that's when we had all of our right wingers go down, right? Because I was the one here trying to get Jan in here in November or right after Halloween. when we went through, everybody got a turn playing right wing. Right? Like that's just what so we had this all last year, and then it started to like flip around pretty much exactly when Yamamoto got here, right? Like that line just started clicking, things started clicking. We started to really take off. So we are in the same spot right now. We have the players to do it. They're just not playing well. Those wheels are not all spinning at the same time. Once they get going, we'll be fine. They just can't fucking wait too long to get these fucking wheels moving. They got to do it right away.
So I wonder, like, we need to get Christopher Steek back on this podcast, because I wonder how do you get that going? Like, what is the solution there? I'd love to know from guys who have gone through, you know, a rough or a cold patch in their career, like what's the play to get out of it? Because one
thing they're missing is a chance to go out and fucking light it up with the boys, right? And I know I know people are gonna sit there and poo-poo that and whatever, but that's legit a thing. Like whether you go out to the bar, whether you guys are going out, you're just bonding, you're getting together, you're becoming a family, you're becoming a team, and they can't do that right now. That is gonna add to negativity on your team.
All right. So this is what we need. Dan, you'll like this because this applies to you directly. We need the boys to head out there for a fucking line brawl. Nothing to bring the boys together than a big old line brawl where everybody's in a dust up. When do we play Calgary? Next week?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
I think watching the highlights on hockeyfights.com yesterday of Matthew Tkachuk getting his shit handed to him by Ben Sherratt. You watch the language of the other team. I'm telling you, you watch the rest of his team, the language around them, they just look like they are tired of it. And when he went and got his puck flipped at him and he lost his damn mind over that, which is just, I mean, like, yeah, sure, it's not Jake Muzzin's shining moment in his career, but it's also just, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, Matthew. And I think the rest of his team is tired of his shit. And we've called this all along. I just don't think anybody thought it was going to happen this early. But like, Milan Lucic is on their team, and he has 0 fights this year. He's not gone out there and defended Matthew Tkachuk for his stupidity. So
he really can't do that anymore, though. As much as
you absolutely can. Absolutely, you can. He can. Lucic has done it, right? Remember Lucic fought Englund just because he looked at Connor McDavid wrong on his like second shift with the Oilers?
Yeah, but that's Englund who's willing to fight anybody.
Yeah, but Lucic can go and grab guys.
Yeah, Muzzin's not going to fight nobody.
Lucic could have gone out and fought Ben Sherratt. Ben Sherratt would have taken that.
That doesn't seem to be like in the mentality of the league. Because
if you're Ben Sherratt, I'm not taking that.
Well, I mean,
go sit fucking down, Lucic. I'm not fighting you.
But Lucic has the ability to at least try, right? We've seen it with Cassian. Sure, maybe he gets some penalties, whatever. That game was lost anyways. But I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's
bring it back to the Oilers, though, Dan. I want a line brawl.
Oh, yeah.
I think the boys need a line brawl. I just don't know if it's going to happen with Calgary. Maybe you go after Brady. Maybe you get Cassian to just go after Brady, and then he looks right at the camera and he goes, "Tom Brady, Matthew, that was for you." And then it's just bedlam after that. But Brady Tkachuk.
There is no way. You just say, take your lumps, buddy. That's how you get in the NHL. You go after his players.
Yeah.
You look at him and go, hey, listen, you do that won't so after you went on fell on the goalie, you look at him and go, listen, next time we're going through your goalie.
I'm taking Austin Matthews out. If you do that again, I'm going to kill one Austin Matthews.
When he's skating on the bench, you skate by and look at him and go, hey, listen, you keep that shit up. I'm going to go at, and you point at Gaudreau, and you watch the Gaudreau's face go white. Look at him and go, okay, please calm down. I don't really want to deal with this shit.
But to bring it back to the Oilers, as you asked, Bag Milk, that's why I was frustrated that Jujhar Khaira got scratched when he did, because I really felt like he was starting to play that role again, and then he got scratched, and maybe that takes that out of him. I am a fan of the hammer. Dead air. There we go. Perfect.
Is that a clip? Can we make that a clip, please?
Of the hammer?
I'm a fan of the hammer.
I'm a big fan of the hammer. There's a clean
but he's the guy that needs to do that. Cassian, it's been beaten out of him since the turtle incident. I just don't think the crazy is there. He needs the fans back in the building before you get that crazy back. We don't need him to be
crazy. We just need him to go out there and bang some bodies. If you got crazy eyes, yes, no, listen, that's like winning the lottery.
Need him to hit and show a general pulse.
No, yes. But as Big Milk's kind of saying here, he's alluding to the fact that you go out and you start some mayhem. You go out and you start something crazy, and you bring the team together, and they rally around
the
that.
bench, throwing knucks around.
That whole fucking Kachuk thing. Did that not start with him like taking a run at Connor?
It started with Kachuk taking a run, taking 5 and 6 strides at Cassian, leaving his guy wide open.
No. We were at the game in Calgary when he started to turtle the first time, and then the next game is when he started running. Kachuk started running him.
Yeah.
The first one we were in Calgary because we started looking at the guys around us, and he literally was the first one where he goes and turtles. It's between the blue
behind
lines.
the net and hit. He went behind the net.
No, that was the next game. This was the game when we were in Calgary, so it's probably the last game of the year.
I've watched too many highlights.
It might be the Connor the game we don't speak about.
I was probably in the alumni.
No, that wasn't it.
Myself a
but there was a game we were in Calgary, and they were about to scrap. Kachuk turtled right around the red line. That's how it started. Everything.
Rank this episode of 100 out of 122. Is this your favorite part?
Easily the reason why we're the second best hockey podcast in India. I'll tell you right now.
Buddy, our rankings are gonna go through the roof after today.
Let's get a fight going. That's what we're saying. Let's do
Tyler's fighting his eyes from closing right now, so we'll get his.
No, I'm trying to watch Kachuk Cassian highlights to see.
Oh, okay.
Let's see when it started.
I thought you were checking out. I thought you were just like, this is just off the rails.
No, I love this podcast.
Give us the breakdown. What happened then, Tyler?
The highlight pack I'm watching is from 2 years ago, and that's not
Sportsnet.
Quite the one, I don't think.
Not hockey fights. You went to Sportsnet.
The game is.
Jeez, I didn't know that. I didn't know that Cassian's still in Buffalo. Tyler, get your buttons ready. Let's get to the Epcor hot and cold performers of the week. Skating on frozen ponds may be the Canadian way, but keeping each other safe by knowing the difference between a pond and a stormwater facility is also the Canadian way. Learn more at epcor.com/winter safety. epcor.com/winter safety. Follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Epcor. Make sure that you guys are on the correct ponds this winter. As we do every week, we start off with our veggies, meaning the cold performer of the week, meaning the downside in life over the last 7 days. Mr. Nation Dan, I look at you at the bottom half of my screen. Your Epcor cold performer of the week.
It's going to be the Oilers reverse retro schedule. I'm pretty frustrated with it. As a guy that wasn't even that big of a fan of the jersey myself, the fact that we're only going to see it 3 games out of 56 this year, when we've gotten we've got this Saturday, tomorrow night, we'll see it against the Leafs, and then we see it for a 2-game stretch in February the 23rd and 25th against Vancouver, and that's it.
I wonder if because there's no fans, if they had something to. I'm
okay with that excuse, except for the fact that they've rolled out this Navy jersey as if it's our home jersey now.
Yeah,
so
schedule in front of you, Dan?
I don't, but I can.
Tweeted it out a couple days ago.
Yeah, it's just I wonder. To me, I find it strange how much they're wearing the thirds. Like, I don't mind the thirds. I'm not opposed to them. I actually, Rick's got an Ethan Bear third, and I love that jersey, but. It is interesting that they did release this reverse retro and they're only going to wear it 3 of 56 times. They
promoted it for 2 weeks straight this offseason, and they're going to wear it for 3 games. It's such a joke. It's such a waste of time. And all it does is feed into the people that are like, it's just a stupid cash grab. So that's why it's my cold performer of the week.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
Tyler was waiting to push that button so long. He was just hanging over it.
Perfect.
Rick, your Epcor cold performer of the week.
Well, it's tough right now, so I don't want anyone to get too upset, but I'm going to give it to someone who's more just kind of struggling right now. He needs to fix his game. He needs to help out a little bit more. And once he does, I think it'll take some of the pressure off the Oilers. So right now it's going to be on Dominic Cahoon. We need a little more offense out of you. You got 2 really, really skilled wingers with you. That line needs to figure itself out.
Are you thrilled? I'm not.
No, I'm not.
Tyler, your Epcor cold performer of the week.
My cold performer of the week is going to be the NHL schedule makers. You know, teams are supposed to be playing every second night, but somehow we are stuck in this odd loop of 1 game on one night, 14 the next night, and it's a Friday night. in the middle of a pandemic. People have nothing better to do but than to sit down at home and watch hockey. And you put one hockey game on the schedule. NHL schedule makers. They're my cold performer of the week.
That's a joke. That's an absolute joke is what it is.
So is that game even on TV for us? Can we watch it? Is it on Sportsnet or TSN?
Who knows? It's on Sportsnet 9 and you don't get it in Edmonton.
What the hell is 9?
I'm kidding. I don't know.
Oh,
One of the only bright sides that I had from yesterday's loss against the Leafs was that I actually had a really good betting night. I did a money line parlay that hit, and then I decided to sprinkle on the end of the money line parlay a Connor over 1.5, which really sent it up. And so I had a really good day. So I was feeling good. I'm like, all right, I'm going to throw all of this back in. I missed out on game stonks. So I'm going to go and I'm going to buy some sports betting units on something. And then one fucking game.
Yeah.
Friday night.
No game Friday night.
Watching, I don't know.
Bet on basketball.
I don't know anything about basketball. My Epcor cold performer of the week to finish off this side of the ledger is going to go to the penalty kill. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the podcast. 4 straight games with a power play goal against. It's hurting us right now, and I know they can do better. I feel like Rick is right where they need some consistency, who's actually out there. I think that'll help. And then they need some at-bats and making sure that they're getting the saves that they need to kill those off. Penalty kill. You are my cold performer of the week.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
That's a great button. Flipping the ledger, I'm going to start with Tyler. You're up first. Epcor hot performer of the week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with an Oilers player who I keep seeing get some hate online, and I will say I don't get it. Darnell Nurse has played more than almost every other player in the NHL to this point, almost every other defenseman in the NHL to this point. And not only is he playing, but he's being relied upon to be a number one defenseman, consistently going up against the other team's best. And with that, he has positive shot differentials, he's 50% goals for percentage at 5-on-5. Like, Darnell Nurse has been good, and he's been playing extremely tough minutes. So I'll go ahead and say that he's been underappreciated by a lot of Oilers fans. So for that reason, Darnell Nurse gets my hot performer of the week.
Put some respect on my name.
Dan, you doing a Rubik's Cube over there, buddy?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome.
I'm grinding away. There you go. Nice.
Rick, you're up next. Your Epcor hot performer of the week.
well, Tyler stole mine. I was definitely going with Nurse. I thought he gets a little too much hate, but I guess, based on Dan's stats, you'll have to give it to the Oilers power play. It seems to start it off in the mud with the wheels going backwards, and I think they've kind of figured things out here. And regardless of who's the fifth person out there, I think they're getting their game going. So we're going to give it to the Oiler power play.
They've done studies, 60% of the time it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
That's a analytics button right there.
I love that button. Dan, your Epcor hot performer of the week.
We're going to take a little bit off ice, but it's going to go out to a friend of the podcast, a man who we tried to bring on in December of 2019 and unfortunately lost his mother. And then, as we found out earlier this week, Gene Principe lost his father this last week, and so for him to come back onto the broadcast there last night, it was nice to see. Missed having Gene on the podcast. Thoughts and prayers with his family there for the loss of Francesco Principe. But it's Gene Principe for being back on the broadcast. Hot performer of the week.
Love Gene.
Love Gene. Love him. He is the greatest. If you do not like Gene, just unfollow me or block me or something.
Stop listening to the pod.
I'll fight you once I get the vaccine.
Just to finish things up, and I feel like a shithead again because I go last on these, especially after Dan just says Gene Principe as his hot performer of the week. I'm going to go to the air fryer breakfast that I learned from TikTok. It is just a piece of bread with an egg and some bacon. But I can tell you, it is one of the easiest and most delightful little breakfasts that I've come up with so far in my air fryer, and I've had it 3 days in a row now.
Break it down. How easy was this?
Okay, so this is easy. You got your piece of bread, right? Push down a little circle for where your egg goes, crack it right on top. Salt and pepper on top, maybe a little cheese if you're feeling frisky. Split up your bacon, wrap it around the yolk of the egg, throw that baby in the air fryer for 9 minutes at 360 degrees, and you will have a perfectly cooked, runny egg and bacon on top of toasted toast, and it is delightful. It is a game changer, and I am lazy, and that fits into that narrative, and it works. Air fryer breakfast, I love you. You are my hot performer of the week.
Dem Arby's boys, wheels up, ski skirt.
I still have to throw a beef and shed in there and see what happens. You know, especially
Dude,
now it's 5 for $15 or whatever it is.
Yeah, they're the little ones, but yeah,
that's okay.
I threw
That'd be a good breakfast.
A couple half pounders there the other day on Monday, I think it was.
See, that's the ticket. Breakfast, Arby's, beef and shed, till we're dead. Air fry or die. That's what this podcast is about. From all of us here at Oilers Nation Radio, I want to thank our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant, SkipTheDish.ca, Tourism Jasper, and Epcor for making this all possible. And most importantly, for you for listening. Without you, there is no podcast. It's just the four of us looking at each other on cameras.
That wouldn't be bad.
It wouldn't be bad. In fact, we've done it before, and we'll do it again. So I want to thank you for listening. I want to ask you to please leave a review wherever you get your podcast from. I will read them. I'm looking at the Apple podcast right now. There's nothing fresh in there, or else I would have read your reviews. But if you do have one, maybe I will read it. Actually, I'll definitely read it.
Tyler, what's the ranking update that you had for us to start the podcast?
Please.
I haven't double checked, but last time when I checked, we were getting into the top 50 on Apple Podcasts for our hockey pods. So
shout out Oilers fans on that one.
Yep.
Shout out to Oilers fans. Shout out to Oilers fans that have stuck through also on this podcast for a year plus whenever you started listening, despite the fact that we had nothing to talk about for a long time. The fact that the numbers grew was pretty alarming and pretty incredible to me. So thank you all. Please tell a friend, maybe tattoo it on your face. I don't encourage it, but if you do, I'll post a picture on social media for you. That sounds like a fair trade-off to me. And just lastly, a plug for the Bcast. If you do want to make a donation to the Edmonton Food Bank, right now we're at $800. Send me a screenshot of your donation to the Edmonton Food Bank, and then a couple of items that you want me to eat for Beatcasts if there was a loss. Last night, it was Spotted Dick, which was sent in by Dangerous Wade. It was a nice little treat, actually. In fact, I gave it a 55 out of 93. It was an Ulanov out of a Nugent Hopkins, and that's a pretty good place to be for a Beatcast punishment. From all the boys here, that's a wrap on episode 22. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Shout out, Damien.
Best wishes.
Thanks for listening to Oilers Nation Radio, a member of the Nation Network of Podcasts. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media to stay up to date and never miss a podcast.
Kyle Broad.